18th, 2020 meeting of the Westwood Recreation Commission. This meeting is being recorded by Westwood Media Center. It will be posted later on its YouTube channel. And I'm Ann Delaney, chair of the Westwood Recreation Commission. So meeting's being called to order at 7:06 p.m. And there are no members of the public here, correct? So we don't have any public comment. So moving on to the approval of the minutes from August 24th. Does anyone have a motion, want to make a motion to approve those minutes, or does anyone have any questions or comments about them?
I have a comment. Sheila did a great job.
Oh, thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Sheila. Anyone make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Second it.
So
then
we gotta just vote then.
So yeah, does everyone in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Anyone opposed? No. Okay,
Motion
so
passes.
the minutes are approved, and monthly report for August and September.
So I can, if you'd like, I don't know if you've had a chance to read through them, but I'll point out a few things of particular note. If we start with August, of course, August was the end of our summer programming, which we've talked about at the last meeting, and I don't think we need to go over that again unless anybody has any questions about the summer programming that ended in August. The one thing of note administratively is our fall brochure was the first brochure that we produced using the new state-of-the-art software called InDesign. For the past year, we had been using a graphic design artist to help us transition from using the old software, which was Word, to this new software. And it was the first time that we went solo without any assistance with the consultant. So we're able to produce the brochure. I'm sure you saw it. And it was a little bit difficult. Unfortunately, we had some training scheduled in the spring that got canceled due to COVID, and we weren't able to reschedule it until September. We have now had some official training, and we're going to have some more in a week or two. But that was a significant thing for us to be able to produce that brochure on our own using the new software, which is much more difficult than Word, but it has much greater power and ability to handle future things that we want to do with the brochure. So in the brochure, again, we were challenged as we were with the summer, and we had to recreate all of our program for the fall, much of which we couldn't do because access to space was much more challenging. And but we were able to rework all of our programs to offer over 30 programs. Now, what we found was that after looking at the registrations, the majority of our registrations for any of our outdoor programming. So there was much less interest for any indoor. And I guess if you think about it, that's not surprising because it's generally understood that it's safer with COVID to be outside. And in the meetings that we attend, the bi-weekly Metro West meetings, MRPA, many of the towns experienced similar things with their registrations, where many of their programs that were very popular but were inside, popular in the past, that they were very poorly attended, whereas their outdoor programming was fully registered, and that's exactly what we saw as well. So that was kind of interesting. And then in August, we finally started work on the pool HVAC, getting that project underway. And that has taken place throughout September. And so I will if there's no questions, are there any questions about August?
Rich, I'm sorry, this is Paul. There was something that I read, and I can't remember in that the whole document, where we had a $33,000 increase from the summer. Did I read that incorrectly?
That was profit.
$33,000 profit, more increase from the year before.
No,
No.
not in this document, Paul.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm trying to think what that would have been though. And that number doesn't stick in my head anywhere.
I'll find it during the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you the finances for the summer, we were able to turn a profit over the summer. I think it was a little bit more than that, but I don't remember the exact number now, and I don't have them in front of me, unfortunately.
Okay.
But yeah, if you find that number, let me know. It just that particular number doesn't stick in my head anywhere.
So here's what I'm looking at the minutes from last time. For the camp, it was 5 weeks. There was 765 registered people, and there was 28,500 in profit on that program. The Games Galore was 3 weeks, 142 registrations, a $22,000 profit on that program. Tennis lesson, 6 weeks, 128 registrations, 7,800 profit there. And the baseball clinic for over 4 weeks, 139 registrations and $4,700 in profit.
Excellent.
So maybe all that together, Paul?
I think, yeah.
No, that would be way more than that would be way
maybe more than
33.
30,000. But
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I think the
I'm
number
sorry.
is somewhere between 50 and 60,000 for the summer.
I'll find it. I'm sorry.
Okay. No,
Hey, I have a quick question about that profit. Do you distribute your staff costs into that?
no, that's an incremental profit, Bob. It's not
Okay.
fully loaded.
It's not fully distributed.
No, it is not. No.
Okay, thank you.
Rich, the Zoom call about after school childcare, are we doing any after school childcare?
No.
Okay, so that was just rec directors talking about whether that was a feasible.
Correct. Yeah. So there was a lot of talk at the beginning, especially with all the hybrid and remote learning and all of that, as to what could be done through recreation departments to satisfy a potential need for that type of programming. So there were some there was some change in the rules to give municipalities greater leeway in offering those programs, like for rec departments and whatnot. But it's something that we in Westwood did not do, in part because of space limitations and staffing and all. It just and we were thinking about offering a program for like Wednesdays where everybody's remote, and offering some kind of like classroom time for parents to drop their kids off, and they could do their remote learning with us, and we could help them with homework and things of that nature. But again, it was an idea that we were working through that we weren't able to fully bake out. So it's not
That
something
sounds pretty
What was it
challenging.
called?
Pardon me?
What was it called?
It was going, I don't remember the exact name of the program. It was like, hold on, I can tell you if you give me a second, but just give me 1 sec, see if I can find it here. It was like Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday afternoons.
Wednesday virtual club or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
That sounds
virtual
pretty
Wednesday club.
challenging.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that it's a great idea. The logistics of it are very high, and the amount of time that we had to try to pull it off, made it very difficult. And it's something that we haven't completely abandoned, but it's not something we're prepared to do yet.
Okay.
So All right, so for September, probably the biggest highlight in September, other than the programs that we just talked about, our fall programs, they're running very successfully. Again, most of them outside. The pool continues to operate, again, very successfully with all the COVID safety guidance that we've implemented, and Sue and her team are doing a great job. Also with their conditioned swim program, which has been very popular. And one of the things that we started to incorporate this fall, and we'll do so later this fall, and then into the winter, is this concept of what we're calling pop-up programs, where we come up with a program idea and use social media and what have you to market it. And so that we may put it out there for next week, and it'll be a one-day, one-time program, because right now our space, our available space is very limited. And so it's very difficult to plan 3 months in advance when we don't have any space. So we're going to be, and also the idea of putting an 8-week program out there. And then if there's outbreaks of COVID or whatnot, now we're spending tons of time canceling programs.
Yeah.
So the idea of being a little bit more nimble, having smaller run programs, meaning, you know, the duration being a week or 2 or whatever, maybe up to 4 weeks rather than the traditional 8 to 12 weeks. And that keeps us a little bit more nimble with what's going on with the current COVID situation and whatnot. So we tried that this fall, and with aquatics, they did some a couple of paddleboard programs out at Hale, and they sold out, were very successful. And we're planning on doing some more of that later this fall into the November, December timeframe, as well as into the winter, that kind of concept. So that's new for us. We're finding that we have to be more innovative. We can't just run the same programs that we've run year after year. A lot of those won't work in this environment.
So you're looking to create some sort of a relationship with other like organizations like Hale or others?
Yes, the answer is yes. We haven't been successful in doing that. I've been talking to Eric Arnold over at Hale, and we're looking for other spaces. Like, for instance, this summer we used the First Parish to help us with that Games Galore program, which was more run in August.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking to do similar things like that. The economics sometimes doesn't work out when some of these locations, they're relatively expensive to rent, and that adds a pretty big incremental cost to the program. So we're trying to find places that make sense economically, so that the programs aren't so expensive that people won't sign up for them.
So what would that look like? Something that's economic and interesting to Westwood residents?
What would that look like? So help me understand that question better.
So what kind of organizations would be economical to reach out to? I mean, what have you found besides Hale?
We haven't.
So then, I mean, is it, who have you reached out to that it's just been too expensive?
We've reached out to the churches. We've reached out to COA, see if we could use their space, the schools, of course. And the next step is to look at some empty commercial buildings that are not being used. And but again, the fear is that they're just going to be too expensive. That's
what kind of programming would you like to do indoors? I mean, you talked about like outdoor stuff. So if you brought something indoors, what would that look like?
Well, so arts and craft type programs are what we've traditionally run.
Okay.
We've always run like babysitting and the CPR courses that we run.
Mm-hmm.
That we've run in the past. A lot of those things are indoors. So actually talking to Lisa Walker, who does some of our art programs, and she ran an outdoor arts program on Sundays this fall, and it went quite well. And we were talking, is there anything we could do outdoors, like, in the winter time? And of course, the challenge is it's cold, but there are things you can do outside. It just won't be traditional paints and things like that. So she's trying to think up some ideas. to do as well. I was just talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious, like, so the goal of these programs, it's to, bring people together to have some level of socialization,
Right.
to do something, that people might be interested in. And so, and that they're going to feel safe and comfortable doing,
Right.
given what
What
could,
about like, if there's a lot of snow on the ground,
I know.
snowshoeing?
Snowshoeing,
or-
good. I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
snowshoeing.
that's one of the things that we're planning on
Like a
doing,
pop-up.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I met with both Joe and Kelly for about 2 or 3 hours today to go through what we're planning. And like for instance, street hockey, snowshoeing, even field hockey, some running, some outdoor basketball. One of the things that, and I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but since we're talking about it, we're exploring getting like a seasonal skating rink to put out and do that. And
That would be great. if you
yeah,
could-
it's not inexpensive, and it's very bulky, and it's a little bit involved to set up, but
And
we're working.
maintain.
And yeah, so we're talking with DPW and other departments within the town to help us, and so we're still working through that process. And we've made quite a bit of progress over the past couple of weeks to explore that. We've got permission from everybody. Now it's just a matter of, figuring out how we're going to do it and making sure we can not only set it up, but maintain it.
Would you ever think of doing an outdoor movie night? Like people are in the cars watching
Yes.
movies?
Drive-in.
We talked about that in the spring, and that, sort of in replacement of, well, I know I suggested it in replacement to Westwood Day, but I'm not sure it happened.
Yeah, so I'll talk to the guys tomorrow, because we're going to talk about it some more tomorrow. I'll put that on the list to see what we can do.
Because the people who rent this these giant screens are in Norwood. I know I sent that information to you guys back.
Yeah, I still have it. Yeah.
If I can make another suggestion, a lot of towns are doing stuff like, not a lot of towns, a lot of areas are doing ice bowls, what they call, soccer during the very cold weather. And it's been very successful, because I know my daughter's been invited to a lot of them. So I know this year is going to be too late. It takes a while to plan and get commitments from teams, but it's something that we might want to put on the drawing board for the following, year, or something, something that we should be thinking about.
What is it, like a soccer tournament?
You play soccer, you get, you have 25 minutes between games so that the kids are socially distanced. You stay in your car. We're doing one on Thanksgiving. The strict rules are coming out already that, here's what you need to do. You need to follow these rules. The Massachusetts Back to Soccer guidelines, something we could certainly take a look at in promoting that.
So
Because
where are they
we have,
doing
As far as soccer goes, I can speak to that a little bit.
yeah,
Rich, the high school teams are playing, so soccer can be played.
Yeah,
Good.
soccer can
Oh
be
yeah,
played.
sure.
oh no, understood. But but the soccer teams are playing, it's two teams, and then, or the JV comes in, and then an hour later the varsity comes in. I mean, we're talking, I'm talking maybe a bigger scope, maybe more teams, maybe 6 or 8 or 10 teams or something of that sort. We have we have 2 turf fields, barring a 10-inch snowstorm, can be used throughout the whole time. So, and then everybody gets their money back if we don't have the tournament because of weather or something like that. Again, this is, just a suggestion. That's something we might want to think about for next year. I don't think we have the bandwidth to plan it for this year, but it's something to think about.
So Paul,
Mitch.
on that note though, what teams are we talking about? Because of course, in recreation terms, we do sort of soccer programs, but we don't have a soccer league, or we don't have soccer teams.
Sure, it
per
would be club.
se.
It would be club teams.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because there are not. I mean, like Westwood Youth Soccer, I'm sure
Yeah.
They would
may
be the host.
consider it, maybe,
Yeah.
if they have some coaches who are, excited enough about it to have, pull a team together. And, and a lot of this stuff is because it's, because of the rules and this stuff, they're calling them friendly games. So whether we want to have friendly games, and again, this is, this is, I'm just shooting from the hip here and throwing this out as a suggestion to think about. But a lot of it is friendly games. I can tell you, Colleen's playing 3 friendly games over Thanksgiving weekend, and there's no, there'll be, I'm sure the kids will be keeping score, but there's no official reporting, and you play your games, and that's it. It's just basically the ability to go out and have some fun and compete and play. That's what it
Right.
really is.
Sure.
Recreational soccer at a.
Recreational soccer by competitive teams who have, who, but they're already practicing. They're already, a lot of them are already going to 4 kicks in Norton or wherever, or
Going
Taunton.
indoors, so they are going indoors, yeah.
They are indoors, and then a lot of them are playing outdoor tournaments. So it's something, I'd be willing to take a look at this and offering that up to the, again, like I say, I think it's too late this year. Obviously, I don't want to rush it through, but something for us to think about to start planning maybe in a year. But
Yeah.
I think Mitch is trying to say something.
All right, it's hard on this system. I don't
Yeah.
like to be too pushy, but just a suggestion, Rich. 7v7 again. It's maybe I know they're doing it at the high school level. My son's doing it. You could have that done. It's pretty safe. They have the masks on. It's basically a passing league. I know this is very popular in Westwood, the flag football, which is separate. I guess they rent out the facility on Sundays, and but just for the rec department, that might be something they can do. Kids who love that kind of stuff. You might get some participation there, and it seems it's COVID friendly.
Yeah.
We're talking about younger kids just playing soccer, not club teams and trying to organize that. I think that's out of our league, Paul.
why would that be out of our league?
Because we don't have connections to all these club teams, and we used to rent the fields for that big tournament, but do we still do it on Memorial Day weekend?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have the bandwidth to set up and run club team soccer tournament. Could be
Well,
wrong.
that's your opinion. I mean,
Bob.
That's your opinion, certainly, and that's fine. But again, we haven't even started thinking about planning and reaching out. I mean, I know 3 different leagues. I know people, who John Smith Academy, Total Soccer. There's a bunch of other clubs out there that again, we haven't done anything for us to say no at this point. I think it's just a little bit premature. Again, I'm not trying to push this, of course, on anybody because it's going to be some work. But
Right.
I guarantee. Well, I don't guarantee you, but I have a feeling that there will be a lot of interest and it will be easy to get people around this area.
Well, wouldn't it feel like it would be renting out the field to the clubs rather than organizing it ourselves if that's who we're going after?
Well, we would actually charge. So right now, the fee to play in a winter in this friendly Thanksgiving tournament is $1,100 a team.
Wow.
Okay, so and that's getting people in there, and they're filling up. So like I say, it's going to be over Thanksgiving, $1,100 a team. You get 10 teams, and you make some money.
So, but recreation would have to manage that whole tournament.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh, positive.
that's a lot of work. I mean, that's asking people to spend their Thanksgiving weekend unless you're going to get volunteers.
Right.
I mean, I can see
It
like
doesn't.
Westwood Youth Soccer and the high school and recreation sort of working together to host something like that versus putting something like that on recreation solely.
Yeah, and again, I just use Thanksgiving as an example. I'm not saying we're going to do it on Thanksgiving, Liz.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so
I
it's just
understand,
something.
but
I'm just again, this is a suggestion. As basically we can figure this out. We get a couple of people from the rec department if we want to figure this out. If you don't, that's fine. I don't know if we have to vote on it or anything like that, but if anybody wants to, I mean, I'm willing to put feelers out and in a couple of months or 3-4 months, present to everybody. But again, I'm just throwing it out there as if you don't want me to even investigate it, then I won't.
I mean,
But
I just think like going back to sort of what's the mission of recreation? Is it to support this? Like, I would like to see
Yes.
Yeah, I want to see
the local kids as opposed to clubs.
That's fine.
Okay, Paul, everybody's ganging up on you, so I
I
think
know,
I'll
I
change.
don't want to gang up on you.
That's okay. At the same time, recreation, I mean, again, I mean, it would be fun to offer it to the Westwood kids, maybe,
If there was like a
the
recreation
Norwood folks.
aspect, yeah, to this thing, so that you've got your club teams playing, and then maybe other kids who might not be on the club team that could participate at maybe a lower level to engage them.
Yeah, I know some baseball groups are doing like a Halloween tournaments.
Right.
Like Needham's doing a Halloween tournament. Norwood might be doing something around Halloween, baseball. But after that, forget it. After Halloween, it's too cold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of standing around in baseball.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know, like I sit on another philanthropy through my work, and we're doing a virtual, 10K run for the whole company across the country. So each company within the company I work for's team is organizing, promoting it virtual. You do it on your own when you can do it. These, I don't really quite get it, the virtual runs, because it's so different, but I don't know if that's another way to just, again, try to engage people this winter, especially where
Or like a turkey trot or something,
Yeah,
like a
like we're just
virtual
engaged.
turkey trot or.
virtually a virtual turkey trot, right?
Hey, Rich, has Hale, how about this idea? You partner with Hale
Hmm.
and we run nature walks on the weekends for kids.
Yes.
Yep.
Those
Yeah, I like that.
I do too.
So,
So there would be like, over a 2-month period, there'd be 4 walks, weather permitting,
Exactly.
and whatever financial arrangement you make with Hale.
right.
And-
So one of the things that we already have nature walks in the planning stages for this winter, not necessarily through Hale, and all the details haven't been worked out, but Hale hasn't been ruled out either. And so yeah, that's a good idea, Bob. It's one that we're definitely working on.
I
Well,
mean,
Hale would have to be involved.
yeah.
There's no other
And-
place. Transportation becomes an issue.
So in Walpole, they did the rec department did a fundraiser with the Walpole businesses. They would have, like, I think 2 parents and maybe 3 or 4 kids go. They would pay, the businesses would also pay a fee, and then the kids and the parents would paint. It was a teddy bear, I think it was like 2 months ago, on the windows of the business establishments.
Oh, yeah.
But they made a lot of money on that. So we could do something like a turkey, or we could do something at the holidays. You know what I mean?
Something for the holidays could be good.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
So they were painting things on the windows of the businesses, the front windows?
Yeah, the outside, exterior.
Right.
So the family pays to get the privilege of painting, so they can have their window, and the store pays to have the window painted, and it raises money for
For charity?
for the rec department, or what is it?
Yes, for the rec department.
And where do they allocate the money to? The money that was raised from
I
that?
guess it was for the their winter programs or something like that for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, those are great ideas. Thanks for the suggestions. I'm definitely going to socialize those with the team and see what we can do with getting some of these ideas moving. So if I could just bring us back.
Brendan, do you know
Go ahead,
Brendan
Bob.
Croak? Do you know Brendan Croak in Walpole?
Do I? No.
He's the director. If you decide to pursue that, I could hook you up with Brendan.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So just sort of bringing us back to the monthly report. There are a couple things, and it's on the agenda a little bit later, and I'll just touch on them now. The pool HVAC, the old unit was removed off the roof at the end of September. We also, the tennis lights, believe it or not, that project is still not completely finished, and that the final inspections need to be done. And upon doing so, they found that something needed to be reworked in the electrical box. That work was done in September, and we're waiting for the reinspection.
And is this to get the rest of the tennis courts lit?
No, all the
they're all lit.
lights are working. I'm not sure. So
So what was left to be done?
I don't understand the technical, because I'm not an electrical engineer, but when the inspectors came, there was something inside the box that was too close to something else, so they had to move it. And
so it was just a routine inspection, like it wasn't.
Well, that's correct. It was the final inspection for the work that was done.
Okay.
And
so we're already using all of the lights.
Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah, they've been operational for over a year, and the contractor didn't get the final inspection done. I got the final invoice. I said, by the way, you guys got your final inspections done. They're like, actually, no, we didn't. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not paying you until you do. So they got that done. There was a problem, and then they had to order a part, and they had to do this and that and the other thing, and they got the work done in September. So it's all done. Now it just needs the final sign off.
Yeah, the lights have been working perfectly.
Excellent. Love to hear that.
There. Just the nets, the nets will be there.
Yeah, so I have an update for that on you, and you're going to like it, Elizabeth. So I'll save that for a little bit later.
You can save it for whenever. I'm done playing outside. It's getting too cold.
It was cold.
Yeah, when are the lights going to be turned off, Rich?
The way that we've done it in the past is we've left them on through the end of October. Believe it or not, they're still using them.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah, they're still being used quite a bit. And
so, I mean, there's been a tennis boom. Tennis and golf have taken off.
Absolutely. This has been sort of an ongoing thing that you've heard Nicole give you updates in the past and whatnot, but as you know, we've used the ICC for a lot of programming. We use it for storage and whatnot. We were supposed to be out by the end of the summer. Then that got extended until the spring of next year. And then it just got pulled back to December. So we've been running programs this fall in ICC, but we have to be out by, I believe, December 18th. So we're going to be, in the next month and a half or 2 months, well, I guess it's 2 months, we're going to be taking our stuff out of there. A lot of it is old stuff that is literally trash, but a bit of it needs to be brought back and put into storage containers. And frankly, we're short on storage space. So that process is underway. And yeah, I guess those would be the highlights for September for the monthly report.
Rich, can we communicate to Angela for the next meeting to the bullet that says, does anyone wish to remove anything under this consent agenda and move to approve the consent agenda? Can that be moved up? Because having it at the end of the consent agenda means we just never move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, so yeah,
which, it's too late to do it. We just talked about it.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure why we do that, but why we even have to.
I'm happy to do that. In where do you want that put?
Well, if we're supposed to move to approve the consent agenda, which are just these 2 items or anything that doesn't get its own line for whatever reason, then we need to move before we start talking about the consent agenda. So it really needs to be sort of the first sentence under consent,
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure thing.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you. So we're not going to bother to do that now.
Okay.
I just never, I never remember it.
Sure, I'll have her move that up.
Yeah. So the next agenda item is the commission member reports. So I have an agenda item on here, which is the review of the comprehensive master plan. If you recall, we reviewed this last year in draft form. And I guess, in reading it through earlier this week, I thought, well, it's exactly the same as we approved last time, but I think they've actually pared it down a little bit, made it shorter, believe it or not. So the planning board is looking for a letter of support for this master plan. So I thought that we should read through it again before providing letter of support. And so it starts, the plan itself starts on page 8 of your agenda. And a lot of it has to do with open space. And I think I'm going to recommend that we, in the letter of support, just focus on recreation, because we're really not reviewing the open space plans, because we're not the open space committee. So if you, with that in mind, the recreation piece begins on page 10 of the agenda. So just a couple introductory paragraphs about recreation and about the list of properties that we have available for recreation and who maintains them. And then the actual list itself appears in table X. And that is
page
on
5 of 8 you're talking about now?
That's page 4 of 8 or page 11 of your agenda.
Okay, so 4 is the inventory and 5 starts the recreation portion.
Well, the summary is on page 3, but you're right. So I think if you, so if you recall from last year, starting on page 5, one of the recommendations was that the Community Preservation Act be considered, not approved, would need to be voted, just to be considered as a source of money. And I know we had some discussion on that last year, and we ultimately got comfortable as long as we weren't recommending that people vote to approve an increase in their taxes. We're just saying that that was a possible source of funds. So I just want to make sure people are still okay saying that it should be considered, not necessarily approved. We're not saying we're in favor of it. It's just one source of money that could be used to support recreation goals. All right, and then it gets on to. I think
the example though, are you talking about the 1 to 3%?
That's what it is, yep.
Okay, but I think the example in the letter is, I mean, when I saw it, I said, Jesus, who's paying $6,000 in taxes? I think that's unrealistic
low.
example.
You think that's a low number?
Excuse me?
You think that's a low number?
It's very low.
It's about what I pay in taxes. A little bit
No,
more than what I pay.
What?
It's more than what I pay. I'm a little bit under that, so.
Really?
Oh, sorry. No. Sorry. I'm thinking I was, no. No, actually, I just looked at my bill. I think that's about, I think that is about, I don't think that's low.
So you pay $1,500 a quarter?
It's twice a year, isn't it?
No.
Property tax?
Yeah. 4 times a year.
Oh. Then I take that back. It does seem low, because I was thinking it's twice a year.
No.
Okay. But
it's just a comment that $6,000 is.
It's just an example, though.
I know.
Yeah. I prefer not to suggest to Abigail that they make changes, as this is the final draft, unless we feel strongly that a change needs to be made.
No, I'm just making a comment, that's all. I didn't say it needs to be changed.
Okay. So that's, one potential source of funds. Then we get back to open space. So I don't think we need to review, well, no, I'm sorry. Skipped over the goals. So we have like overarching goals for the recreation. And all right, well, the first goal is the character.
And can you share that document on the screen so we're all looking at the same document at the same time? Is that something you can pull off?
Page 12.
What page? Yeah, what page is it?
Page 12.
Page 12. I don't know how to share over Zoom, but it was in your agenda.
I know.
There's a bottom thing. It says share screen. Do you see that green? If you put your mouse down by the bottom.
All right.
And then a green box should come up with share screen with an arrow.
So you guys are going to see yourselves. Oh no, now it's.
There it is. You did it.
Oh, there you are. You did it.
Yeah, but now it's like. Okay.
So you just have to like fix your boxes. Just fix your boxes. Something. Pull everything. There you go.
I think you can all see what I'm looking at now. I can't see all of you though.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Good
I'm
job.
not gonna be able to see who's, I had it set up so I could see all of you. Now, if you're talking, I'm not gonna, if you're raising your hand, I'm not gonna see.
That's okay.
everyone. All right, so our, these are just general objectives, open space and recreation. So the main one we're focusing on is increasing the recreation facilities and programming for all ages. All right, so we get on, OR is the open space goals. So I'm gonna, or action plans. So I'm gonna skip over those and get right to the recreation action plans, which are on page 6. So our first goal and plan has been and continues to be finding some sort of indoor recreation space to use or to develop into a community center. These have not changed since we last reviewed them. And then it's, targeting properties that we can use for unmet needs. So school buildings, this might be for the community center, school buildings, First Parish, any sort of buildings that we can use for recreation use. And as we've talked about today, that sometimes it's hard to find those. And then there was a lot of talk at the community forums and in the surveys about skating. So finding a partner like the Boston Skating Club to meet that need, to partner with and meet that need. Extended use of fields.
How would that work in with the Boston Skating Club?
We would have to talk to them and explore, the use of their rink time for some of our programs.
Oh, okay.
Or some, some other facility if it wasn't the Boston Skating Club, just
Okay.
a facility that we could use space at.
It reads though, we would build a facility, a new indoor facility in Westwood, and then would partner with the Boston Skating Club. That's the way it reads.
Which is already built, of course, now because this plan has been in the works for 2 years. Right, isn't that the Boston Skating Club? Isn't that club right on University Ave? It's pretty much built.
Yes.
No, that's Norwood.
That's not the Boston Skating Club?
I don't think so.
All right, I thought it was, so yeah.
You're right.
It says evaluate the feasibility of a new indoor facility in Westwood and partner with the Boston Skating Club.
Yep, or other entities to share indoor ice.
So this document is advocating for us building an indoor hockey rink?
It's exploring feasibility of partnering with a group to build an indoor rink, like Norwood did with the Boston Skating Club. Or partner with them, use their rink. There's also a piece of it for exploring portable refrigeration for outdoor recreational skating, which the rec department is currently talking about.
Just one thing I noticed, I don't know of any town that owns a skating rink.
Me neither.
And I'll tell you, I was involved with the pond with Jimmy Piatelli in Norwood.
Yep.
And I had somewhat of an interest there. And it's just a nightmare owning and maintaining an ice surface. I could talk to you for an hour about the issues.
So do we want to suggest a rephrasing of this?
Yeah, can we put partner with? Get rid of everything up to until it says partner?
Just start the sentence with partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think that would be ideal if we partnered with, all these surrounding organizations, indoor, ice rinks and Hale and, I'm thinking Adams Farm, if we're going to do outdoor programming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot of places that are, not that far. I just don't know. I mean, I know it's a lot of work, but
Yeah, and I think the Boston Skating Club partnered with Norwood.
Mhm.
I'm not, to build that so that,
But Norwood's not an owner. Town of Norwood's not an owner.
they didn't donate any money or do anything or give them
Oh, I
any
don't know, but they don't own.
breaks or.
They don't own.
It was Charlie Donahue was the driver of this.
Yeah, Charlie Donahue used to have artificial ice in Norwood in a warehouse. Like 20 years
He
ago.
wasn't the driver of.
He's a big advocate of hockey and ice surfaces. So
I mean, so he was instrumental in the crafting of this particular goal. It certainly was. We did get a lot of feedback that hockey was a big priority, but we'll propose a change.
For Charlie, it's a big priority, but maybe not. I think our biggest priority is potentially getting like the Deerfield School.
Well, so that's why we have that as number one, and then like identifying properties for it as number two on our list.
I mean, it would be great if Deerfield's gonna close, that
Yeah,
becomes our recreation center at some level.
yeah.
That would be
It would be
ideal.
good to have a full-size gym as evidenced in the in the
Survey.
first goal too. Yeah.
Yeah.
One full-size gym in this town. We need another. We need there's no track for adults and for the
Yeah.
kids. The whole
Yeah.
the whole nine yards.
Indoor track?
Indoor track, yeah.
Oh,
Go around the courts, like many towns have they call it a bubble. They have that facility where there's 2 or 3 basketball courts, volleyball courts, whatever you want to do, a track
Oh, I
around, just perfect.
Yeah. I mean,
Residents
that
would
would be
come in.
ideal in a recreation. There were lots of feedback as to what could be in a recreation center. I mean, the Deerfield.
I mean, we're gonna have I think we're gonna have a budget situation if we don't
Mhm.
already have one right now. So, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
what we have and trying to make it work in the best way we know how, to me, from a fiscal standpoint, seems the most prudent way to go. Because I don't think this fiscal situation is gonna go away anytime soon.
Agree.
this
Hey,
is a
Mitch,
next
you
year
mentioned we have
project
one-
anyway.
Say that
you
again.
mentioned we have one basketball court in Westwood.
Regulation basketball court, Bob.
Okay,
yes.
so let me give you some history on that, because I've lived in town for 35 years.
Wait,
When the middle school addition was put on,
Yeah.
they ran short on money. And
Yeah.
Andy Shaba, who was the contractor, was told by the building committee to make it a little smaller, like 6 feet shorter than regulation, so they didn't overrun.
mhm.
That's why you don't have a second regulation, but that court
Yeah.
is pretty good.
Poor choice in hindsight, but you can't have.
Yeah, that court is still pretty good. I mean,
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
bad.
but kids smash
Not
into
bad.
walls and stuff. I mean, on the other, because there's 2 courts and one is even smaller.
yeah, but that one was the old court. But the new court is a brand new addition. And I just gave you the history on it.
Yeah.
And, it's a shame, but that's the way it is. But it's still very adequate.
Not for certainly not at the high school level, Bob. You can't have games there. And the older kids, it's.
Varsity, I agree with.
I mean, I've been
wouldn't
through
say
it, Bob.
freshman or
I've been
junior.
through it through the youth programs, through high school, and it just doesn't work for those age kids.
We
But
all
that's
have.
But
it is
his
what it is.
CYO has, I mean, Ken Castaldo came and talked to us.
Forget it.
Yeah, we've all been through it.
Forget
It's-
it.
So the rest of them pretty standard, increasing outdoor facilities such as multipurpose, look for options to light. We've been talking about all of this. Increased recreational opportunity programs for adults and seniors, including pickleball. We've talked about that.
I know.
And then devote resources to universal design and accessibility improvements to all the.
So what is going to happen to the Sheehan School? I mean, is there a determination yet on these elementary schools or no?
That's next. They'll be teeing that up in about 4 years.
So we're going to let the property, the court or whatever, the tennis court that turned into a inline skate rink. I think that used to get iced over too,
Yes, it did.
We've got Joyce here. She can tell the history on that.
You don't want to do what you did at Morrison, build a brand new court.
And then have it ripped down.
Tear it down.
Well, well, I know pickleball is a potential for that space, and I know that, was deferred one more year. I haven't
2022.
heard anything
I mean,
else.
we've been talking about that court for at
Yeah.
least 10 years,
Yep.
Right.
that space for at least 10 years.
I mean, that's part of the school though, right? That court belongs to the school.
That's what it's not clear to me. Is it part of the school, Joyce? Do
Oh,
you
I think
think?
it
The
is.
Sheehan school has the Sheehan field, that's for sure. They
No,
run
the
programs on
Sheehan Fields, Bob, are town property.
What?
The Sheehan Fields are town property.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. But it's actually spelled out. If you look at that table X,
That chart.
it's listed right there as town property. I forget what page it's on, but
No, I went by it. Sorry.
Yeah. The consultant that came in as the interim director many years ago went through and identified every piece of court, space, field.
This is conservation. Here it is.
it's on page 4 or
Sheehan.
11 of our agenda, and you can see that Sheehan is
Recreation.
So
So we
it's
own
that
we
basically
own
that
that
means
court
it's town
too.
property.
Okay, but what's confusing to me, Rich, is it says the Sheehan School, the management agency is the school committee.
No,
No, that's
It says on-
Deerfield.
That's what you put out.
Recreation Commission.
What?
That's
For the Sheehan
Deerfield.
Fields,
The
No,
Sheehan
Sheehan
School,
too. Use.
Sheehan School says school committee.
School committee, yep, Sheehan School.
And
So
the reason I say that,
Oh, Sheehan School. Sheehan
yeah, the
Field.
school,
here's
but
the
not
tennis
the
court right
fields.
there.
Yeah, that's
But
different.
but not
Okay.
the fields, Bob. If you look
well,
up above where
to the right of that,
But
it
it
talks
says
about,
tennis.
It
Yeah.
does tennis.
I
to
can't
the right of
highlight.
it says baseball field, multi-purpose basketball, courts, tennis playground.
But it says baseball next to the Sheehan Fields too, and we know there's soccer.
Well, it says multi-purpose field. That's for all, everything else.
Yeah.
It could be soccer, could be lacrosse, could be anything.
yeah, I see
That's
what you're
strange,
saying.
yeah, because why would multi-purpose and baseball be on the Sheehan School line instead of the Sheehan Fields
Well,
line?
I'll tell you, years ago when I used to rent the fields, to get the Sheehan field, I had to go through the Mrs. Adowski. Miss Adowski.
She was my elementary principal.
Yeah, I don't know how many people know her, but you laughed. And so.
I do. My kids
She was
had
a
her.
terror. So, I mean, she would say something to me.
I'll tell you, people liked working for her.
Oh, I know, but she would say, when I go in there to get the field, she would say, what time are the kids gonna be home? They're gonna be home for dinner? I don't want you running over that field that interferes with homework. She's a character.
Okay, so getting back to the goals, we're gonna start that goal. Hold on.
So I'm sorry for interrupting, but so is it our understanding that if you're on Pond Street and you're looking at the Sheehan School, is it our understanding that the tennis court and the baseball field and the soccer field and the tennis court behind it belongs to the school? Is that the understanding?
Rich, I think you're saying no.
I since I've been here, I can remember Nicole saying that those fields were town fields. I'll check with Abby tomorrow. I just made a note to check this graph and make sure that that's accurate and see where it's delineated. So.
Well, I'll tell you, for pesticide use, Rich, it's not like Morrison. You have to get approval from the schools to do any pesticide applications at Sheehan and all the rest of the schools.
Okay.
I think that they may have handed over the allocation of space to different sports organizations to you, but I think ultimately it's their field.
Okay.
So let's tell Abby that the field delineation for Sheehan between school and fields is less than clear on that chart.
Yep.
And then the recreation action plan, implementation action number 3, we want to start that sentence with the word partner. And then we can, so there's a letter in support. I want to edit it just slightly to, I'm going to move up to the letter on the screen.
I have another issue before we get to the letter.
Oh, okay. What's your other issue?
We still have installed field lighting for extended use on existing fields such as First and Middle School. That's in there.
Let me go to it.
That's R5.
I actually read this before the meeting, so that's
It's R5.
I did read that. So do we feel like we've got all the lights that we want to add to the fields in there, and that there's no more additional light, like we're satisfied everyone's needs? Because again, this is, you know.
I mean, this is a political issue that was decided at some level, and there's a lot of money spent on the feasibility of lights at Thurston. I don't want to choke you with the number, but it was dropped.
Right, I remember soccer.
It wasn't just that, there was a gas line there, there's a lot of issues.
Yeah.
And soccer, of course, doesn't like playing soccer on grass fields anymore anyway. Once you play a multi-purpose field, I mean, on a synthetic field, it's a whole different game.
Mm-hmm.
So while this was valid 2 years ago, do we feel it's not a valid goal anymore and we should strike it? Or do you think someone's going to come back and say, we need more expanded lighting?
So if I could just, I think there's probably still a feeling that we could use more lit fields, because there's still, especially in the spring, there's always contention for, evening time on the fields. That being said, we had this proposal to light the Thurston field, and it did not get support of the FinCom, so it didn't go to town meeting.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Right. So I think there still is a need within the town for additional lighted fields. I just don't know if that particular plan was one that was deemed desirable. And so there were some people that wanted turf fields. There were some people that don't want turf fields, and so I'm not sure that the issue is fully resolved, but I still think the need is there for, and I'm speaking from the perspective of, we see the demand because we're the ones who schedule the fields, and we know that there's way more demand for lit fields than there is supply.
So maybe we strike that last sentence then that says how we're going to meet this. I mean, it is an implementation plan or implementation action plan, but maybe we just say create.
Consider instead of install, say consider.
Consider installation of field lighting.
Yeah.
Let's call it a day.
Yeah, you could almost just strike the last 5 words, such as Thurston Middle School.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the rest of it still is applicable.
Yep. Okay.
Now, what fields those would be, I don't know, but
I like that, consider installing lighting, as opposed to making a statement, install lighting.
Consider installing field lighting for extended use at existing fields, period.
Right, consider.
Okay. Then we're on to open space.
Can we go back to R3 for a second?
R3, yeah.
And I don't know about this one. I have the uncomfortableness of stating that, partner with the Boston Skating Club that's already got a place, 2 miles away.
Yeah, this was, again, written when this thing was just being built.
Understood.
Well, it hadn't even been started.
Then do you want to get rid of Boston Skating Club and just go with other entities?
Well,
and partner with other entities?
Yeah, so Sheila, I think I'm leaning toward what you just said, because it's not necessarily, do we want to we want an indoor facility, but and we're calling out skating, but we want an indoor skating. I think Mitch mentioned basketball, track. There are other things that you know,
We're not
we're not
calling
meant to.
out skating because, I mean, we're doing it because that was an overwhelming response. The skating was a big need. Like we
Right.
did all the community forums. We did 2 rounds of surveys. I mean, that was,
Wasn't like you just pulled it out of the air.
we didn't, yeah. So, and it
Hockey
wouldn't
people,
really,
the hockey people are pretty emotional
Right.
about it.
Yes.
they are, but you know, they're the ones who came forward.
Right.
There was a lot, you know, there was talk about basketball and basketball court. We have that in there in a higher goal, but a lot of hockey people came forward.
Right, because they, you know, Charlie Donahue leads the parade. I mean,
So I mean,
the
we can,
reality, I have a problem putting something on paper that, you know, would cost, you know, 25, 30 million, a hockey rink
Agreed.
Yeah,
with
I,
basketball and tracks and,
yeah, I don't think we're gonna have the budget for this kind of stuff.
no, I know, that's why I'm saying I'm not in favor of
I'm
putting
not
it
All right.
there.
either.
The
So
goal,
the
it's
option,
a goal,
on
guys.
the table is take out Boston Skating Club. Is that what we're discussing right now?
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, to have a relationship with Boston Skating Club, you know, we make a donation. I don't know what it is, but to, you know, invest in it and like, so we're part owner. I don't know. It just seems a little strange to me.
I don't think we should be
well, I
owners.
think we've already decided to take that out and just say partner with. So.
So you want to
Skating
do
club,
partner
partner
with
with skating
other
club?
entities? Just say partner with other entities to share. Get rid of identifying
What is-
Boston Skating Club.
But what does other entities mean? We should say like at least skating.
They're
Leave it
private.
open.
Skating facilities,
Other private entities will cover it.
Yeah.
partner with private entities,
Yeah.
not other. Because if you take out Boston Skating Club, you don't need other.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Private entities, right? So then,
Okay. Partner with
All
private
encompassed.
entities to share indoor ice skating facilities.
I take out with surrounding towns such as Canton and Norwood.
Okay.
No, it doesn't need us. We don't need Norwood. We, you know, they don't want us anymore. That's
Norwood,
for sure.
well,
Rich, are you taking any notes on your copy? I'm unable to add the one on the
I'm
screen.
doing my best to do so, yes. And I'll make them and circulate it. So,
Okay.
Well, whatever you miss, Rich, you can watch the video again.
you're right.
Oh, true, yeah. All right, anything else on these goals or action items, implementation actions?
no,
So Rich, it's left with you to check who owns the Sheehan Field, right?
I'm going to do that tomorrow. Yep. I'm going to.
Okay, and then based on your information, you'll update that graphic? Or do we have Ann do that? Who does that?
Well,
Abby.
the actual, the plan itself, I suspect, I'll talk with Abby about these changes
Okay,
and work it. She owns this document, so I
perfect.
don't know if she'll want to change it or have me change it, but I'll work
Okay.
that out with Abby and let you know.
okay, I got one more comment on page 5 of the thing you sent out, which is probably 12. It says overall Westwood residents desire to improve maintenance and awareness of
Page
conservation.
5 of 8.
5 of 8, that's what Rich sent out.
Overall, Westwood residents desire improved maintenance and awareness.
Yes, that's it.
Conservation and open space. Yep. What's the question about that?
Well, we get everything back in there again. Indoor basketball courts, plural, ice skating, indoor track.
Yep. These were the general findings at the community forum.
That's the needs. That's not to construct anything.
Okay,
This isn't, yeah, this is just the summary of,
okay, that's not you.
well, no, I mean, by me, what do you mean? These are the
Oh.
things that came out as recreational needs in the forums, but it's just a summary of where
So
what we
let
heard.
me ask you a question. If you went through this forum and everything, and there's a lot of issues here, I mean, why, are we gonna vote on this?
We met with the planning board in January on this. And we provide a letter of support. They just have made some tweaks to it. They're looking for an updated letter. So, I mean, if we think it's really bad, we just tell them they need to. I mean,
Other than the items that
Let's see what Rich gets done.
Yeah, so what you may want to do, and a suggestion is you may want to approve the document with the changes that have been discussed. And
Yeah.
I'll recirculate. And again, this is up to you if you'd like to do that. But if we make all the changes we've talked about, I mean, generally speaking, I think you agree with the document. You've made some tweaks to it.
Mhm.
Let's get those tweaks and approve those tweaks. And I'll work with Abby to make that happen and recirculate the tweaked document.
So do we feel like we can live with the document and put forth a letter of approval? Based on, assuming the tweaks are made to our satisfaction?
So speaking just by myself, I'm like not very good at taking a look at what the potential document's going to look like. And I know we had a lot of stuff that we just covered. I personally would, you know, unless the rest of the people are okay with it, I would personally rather see another copy of it before we say that we're okay with it. I don't know, Ann. What do you think?
Well, the only thing is, I don't think we can't have a meeting offline.
Right.
And this comprehensive plan is years overdue. I think we're out of sync with some law by not having this plan in place. So
wouldn't COVID override it though? Wouldn't COVID conditions override any?
It was out of date. I mean, we were behind a year ago before COVID even started.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, I mean, I was supposed to be assigned to this committee for probably a year and a half before they even started meeting.
So Ann, so why don't we put our faith in Ann and Rich, because we have the items addressed that we need to get reworded, and have those two take care of it for this week or whatever.
I mean, I feel like we could send, like you could send, Rich could send it out and you guys could all reply to Rich. I just don't think we can take a vote.
Yeah, we can't do that. We would have to vote in a public setting. Like we can't use email to do a vote, even if it's one-offs. It would have to be, to comply with open meeting law, we would have to do it in this forum or a special meeting. We could not do it via email.
But could you send out the document via email and people could give you comments if they disagreed with anything? Or no?
No, I could give you the document for review, but any discussion about that document would need to be done in a public forum like this.
All right, so I think I'm back to Sheila's recommendation that we vote to approve the document as with the edits that were discussed.
So here's what I have for the edits that we're gonna all fix. So we're all in agreement with it. We're going to page 13, page 6 of 8 in the document that we have under school buildings. We are going to remove all wording and start the wording at partnering. Don't like any new facility wording in that document.
And can you keep that? Can you go back to where that was? And
yes,
it
keeps
jumping up and down here.
Page 13.
Okay.
Which is page 6 of 8.
Am I in the right spot right now?
R3. Yes, R3. At R3, we're removing all wording and start the wording at partnering. At R3.
And then we're going to say with private entities instead of Boston Skating Club.
Correct.
Not with private entities.
Right, and remove Norwood and Canton in R3 as well.
And remove Norwood and Canton, yep.
Okay, and then we go to R5, and we're gonna replace install with consider, and remove the last 5 words in that section.
Such as Thurston Middle School.
Correct.
Okay. So does anyone have any concerns with that?
I'm just going to reiterate my concern that someone previously mentioned, putting our names on a $25 million project on R3. So
you mean the community center or?
The new indoor facility in Westwood and throwing the skating in there. This is my personal opinion. And again, it's not wrong. It's my opinion. My opinion is that we're adding a significant amount of cash to this facility.
Well, we're not
by
adding
offering.
anything. None of this is going to be
No,
done
but
without.
we're supporting the idea that this should move forward.
Yes,
That's what
and
he's
this
saying.
has been our #1 goal
And I just
for
think,
years.
Well, no, I think he's talking about the ice rink and the indoor tracks and all that stuff. Our goal is to get our own recreational facility. Realistically, that's the Deerfield
Right.
School. But beyond that,
Well,
the
although I don't
dream-
think we want just an old school if they're, we're likely not going to get the money for a big building. But I think if we don't ask,
so
we're stuck with a Downey school with not meeting the needs of the community. Like if the community wants it, they should be able to vote on it. It should go to a town meeting or something. We shouldn't squash it.
Okay.
Right, so Paul, can I ask you a question, Paul? You're saying that R5, create a new outdoor recreation facility is what you're objecting to. Is that right?
No, I am
No.
objecting
Oh.
to, I am objecting to R3.
Okay, so Paul is objecting to R3. Got it. Okay. But we took the wording out that we're
And
not gonna.
I
put in a
understand.
facility.
It's just
Right.
the skating facility is a significant cost. And
But
that's,
we're not
that's
talking
what I,
about building it. We're
I don't
changing
think,
that.
I think,
is that, are you taking skating facility out completely?
Correct.
yeah,
Well,
Fine.
no, to share, partner
Okay,
with
what-
other entities to
hold on.
share indoor skating facility.
to
So-
share,
so-
I don't like that word share at all, because share to me means share of the cost. And I don't
So-
think we're in a position to share the
So
cost.
that is a change. Then, I mean, I don't know what Abby will and the committee will say about the change. But
that
that
what you mean,
would be
Paul?
a significant change to the.
Is that what you mean, Paul? Sharing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with Paul on that. I'm with
Yeah.
you on that, Paul.
And I'm
Thank
with you, Paul. I am not comfortable sharing the cost of any skating rink right now. I think it would be personally, I would feel that that was an irresponsible decision, given like where we are. I mean, if COVID didn't happen, I'm still not sure. I would say I'd want to share in it. But now we've got this thing that, really could, be a financial drain on, the communities, Westwood.
So
and
I
I
think it sounds like we
told
need
Rich today, I called Rich recently and said, I shared my experiences with the pond, and to run those, and it was only a quarter sheet, meaning it was only the size of a quarter size of the rink. The electric bill to run those compressors or whatever the hell they were, was the electric bill with Norwood Power and Light was $8,000 a month for a quarter sheet. That's just electric to keep the ice, from melting.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a huge, and when I was, it was proposed to me to share in the ownership there, I analyzed the rink and I couldn't believe how expensive it is. Insurance is astronomical.
Yeah, insurance. Yeah.
Maintenance, he only had one Zamboni and it broke down every week. So you need to buy multiple Zambonis and they're not.
Hockey is
Right.
not an inexpensive sport or
Oh yeah, it's very, very expensive.
it's
So
very
let me put
expensive.
this forth then. I think Rich and I need to go talk to Abby. We may need to have a special meeting on this because it was very, very clear that the community that spoke up had this as a very important goal.
And can we separate it to say that from the surveys, they wanted this, but the rec department does not recommend it due to the cost?
I don't know. We may have to have a special meeting with Abby and the
I
planning
mean,
board.
just think about this. I mean, it's one thing for people to say we want this, but then to like really map out the financials of what this really entails, that's a different story. To me, it's
Well,
just,
this is examining. This isn't like,
I know, but for us to
Yeah.
even say we should move forward and support it as Paul has outlined, I'm personally not comfortable putting my name on that and saying, yes, I think this is a good idea. We should continue moving forward. I think we should say, let's look at the economics of this first, and then I will decide if I want my name put on something.
but that's exactly what this is. We can't look at the economics till it's on here. So that's what it is.
I
Evaluate
feel like
the
that's
feasibility.
irresponsible personally. I just think it's irresponsible.
All right, so Rich, why don't we go to Abby and we'll see, she may have to come back to one of these meetings. We might have to have
Yeah.
an emergency meeting.
Yep.
I
Well,
think,
and that'll depend on the timeline of when she needs to complete this, right? So
which wasn't
and-
she looking for a letter by the end of this month?
she was, but and
Yeah.
I don't know how that fits into the timeline. So I will call Abby tomorrow and talk to her about you know what we've discussed tonight and get a sense for, do we need to have her come back? Do
Yeah.
you know, can we propose some changes and you know,
Yeah.
get
Because I
see if
personally
that will
feel
fit
very-
into her timeline. I just
I
don't
feel very
know.
uncomfortable changing something that was a clearly,
It was a final draft.
it's a final draft, we've approved it once, but more importantly, it's what the community asked
Right.
into this document. We invited them to give us feedback, we incorporated their feedback, we've approved it once. Now we're saying we're not going to approve it. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable taking something out that was just evaluating it, not saying we're doing it. But it was a clear ask on the part of the community that we evaluate this. And I personally don't think we should be saying, well, we don't even want to evaluate it because we don't think it's right.
Yep.
And I definitely think we're holding up the.
That's
Well, I mean, she
I
just
just
said,
think I think we're in a different situation than we were when this survey was originally, done. And that's why, whoever said, what about COVID? What about COVID? I think that is really a reason why, thinking has maybe adjusted a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
so
I think
what-
that's all you can say. I mean, we've got 3 people who are clearly not comfortable with saying yes right now.
Yeah, one of the
But we're
things,
not saying, yeah, that's the thing. We are not saying yes to anything. We don't have the authority to say yes to anything going forward.
Yeah, but
All
you're
we would
you're
say-
putting your name on that. You're putting your
Yeah,
name.
I don't
saying
wanna
that
put
the
my
rec
name on it.
department discussed this, and we're all in agreement with what the survey told us that the residents were looking for.
Okay. All right, let's talk to Abigail about the consequences
Yeah.
of the rec department not
Yes,
being in
I think
agreement.
Anne's not gonna like us anymore.
No, that's okay. We're not going to be liked.
No, I
Well,
just,
I think everyone's going to take that type, because right now everyone is going to be losing costs on what's going on. And this is something that should be presented, but at the same time should be adjusted based on what's going on in the world right now.
Yes.
so
okay.
I just want to say one more thing. I'm
Both should be
curious.
the
I'm
same.
curious to how Mitch and Joyce feel about this one. I haven't heard
Can you hear me?
barely,
Yes.
but we can. But you'll have to
Okay,
speak up a
could-
little
could you
louder.
help me? Barely. I've been trying to. My volume's been down. I've been trying to comment. So let me make a quick comment. I agree with Ann. Okay. A, it's been approved, and B, this is just evaluating the feasibility. We're not recommending that we build an ice skating rink. That's not what we're doing. We're not recommending necessarily that we build a 20-court basketball court with a 5-lane track. We're saying let's evaluate. This is what the town wants. It doesn't matter. We're not saying we have to build a skating rink. Clearly, that's a huge issue. We're not backing that. We're simply we've already approved this, and it's simply saying evaluate the feasibility. That's it. And the town, a lot of people want it in this town. I'm not a hockey person, but
Me
people
either.
want it. Taking this, I agree with Ann. I'll just leave it at that. We're not
Okay.
Yeah, but everybody, no town in Massachusetts I know of has an indoor rink. Name
What's
me one.
Joyce saying? What's Joyce's opinion
Yeah.
on this?
Oh, sorry.
I think I'm leaning towards Ann as well. I think that it is just for us to explore. I think we should be exploring things, and we've already signed off on it. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. I mean, it's they still to vote in the money, and if there's no money because of COVID, there's no money.
Okay. All right. So now what's left? What do we do now?
Well, we
Well,
don't
it
have
sounds-
consensus, so I'm hearing that I should not be providing a letter of support on behalf of the Recreation Commission unless everyone has changed their mind who is in
Okay.
disagreement.
I do, Mitch, you are an attorney and you understand these documents maybe at a different level than certainly myself. So if that's what you're assuring us, that this document is all it is exploration, And that if we put our name on the document, that this is purely exploration and that it's not in support of, what the town has recommended based on, where we are today versus when this survey was taken a year ago or more, then I'm okay with that. If that's what you just said. Is that what you said?
Almost. It's not a legal opinion. I'm not counsel to the town. I'm not counsel to the commission. I'm here as a private citizen. But based on what Ann is saying, we've approved it, and it's simply saying this isn't endorsing that we should have an indoor facility, and it's not endorsing we should have an indoor basketball court and track. We're simply saying this is the desires of the town, and therefore we'll put it in there. And this is far from happening. Obviously, COVID is going to take a huge chunk out of this, and I doubt the town would really want to pay the money for a ice skating rink. But there are a lot of people here who want that. We've already been through this. I think we're fine going with this.
Okay.
As opposed to now saying, well, no, we're changing this. I'm not even sure procedurally we can.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So,
Mike. Thank you, Mitch.
So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yep.
You can? So, can you show me where it says, Mitch, I'm sorry, I missed where it says, we see the hockey rink and we know that the hockey team apparently, and that's a meeting I definitely missed about the hockey team when they showed up and voiced their interest about having a hockey rink. I missed that.
It wasn't the hockey team. We had community forums that everyone was invited to.
Yep.
Nicole
missed
and
them.
I were present.
Yep.
And so we had a community forum and hockey came up a lot. We ran 2 surveys and hockey came up overwhelmingly in those surveys.
Okay, fantastic. So what I'm seeing here then is I know it was mentioned R2. So can we go back up to R2 for a second and show like that right there?
There.
Okay, good, perfect. Don't move it. So I'm looking at R2 and R3. So R2, it kind of hides the gymnasium and multi-purpose field. So I'm looking at this too as well.
General, as if buildings become available and they could be used to serve unmet needs, grab them if we can. Or identify them anyway, identify them.
Yeah, I'm not. I
So
apologize to everybody on this one. I'm just looking at the wording and it just seems like, to me, at the wording that separate building for hockey and everybody else if buildings free up.
Well, it's not.
Am I missing that? Am I wrong?
So one is prioritize developing a new multi-purpose indoor recreation community center. This was before I even joined this committee, this is what the commission said is the #1 goal. Subsequently
that's what our previous director was saying.
Nicole, yeah. Right. I mean, I went in there with my marching order that this is the #1 goal. We do not have enough space to run our programming. I mean, as you heard from Rich, she was looking at other spaces, other buildings and things but not being cost effective. And, in the summer, we lost the high school this year. We were bouncing around.
Well, it's COVID. It's a COVID year.
It's a COVID year, yes. But even when we do have the high school, we don't have.
You're limited on
times.
Yeah.
Okay.
So number 2 is
I would agree with what Nicole said. It would give us so much more option and flexibility if we had our own space.
Agreed.
It's exacerbated.
Everybody agrees with that, Rich. The issue is indoor tracks, multiple basketball courts, indoor hockey rink. I mean, that's just preposterous to me.
Yep.
No. Well, that's just saying if there were unlimited funds, what would a multi-purpose indoor recreation community center have?
Yeah. And that was from the forum and the surveys.
Right. So we're all in agreement with that, correct or no?
I'm starting to lean towards it.
You're leaning that
I
you're
mean,
okay
you're not
if we had, if
so-
it was
The
unlimited
town is
funds.
not gonna give us the money for this. The taxpayers, when it comes down to it, they're not gonna give us the money for this, but it has to be our number one goal that we
Correct.
make a community center, and this is what the community was looking for in the center.
I agree. We all agree with the community center.
Okay, so we all agree to R1, right?
Yes.
Okay, so R2 is we're identifying the needs based on a survey. So we all agree that we have identified needs based on a survey, and if we have access to other schools or parish or all that stuff, we're all okay with that, correct?
So
Mm-hmm.
if a town building comes available, we should explore it. Now, that's not the same as one. It
That's
may
right.
be the only thing we get, but it gets us more
Correct.
space.
So
Okay.
if I could just offer this, and I'm sorry I'm pulling everybody around here. If I can just offer the fact that if we combine R2, so identify properties which may, or spaces that may be available to meet unmet recreational needs. And then in those subsets would be town, the gymnasium, elementary, gymnasiums, the tracks, multi-purpose field, hockey rinks, and just combine those all in instead of giving, I don't know, just having R3 have its own title just seems to, I don't know.
Well, it didn't really fit with the others because you're not going to have hockey in a community center unless it has a hockey rink. You're not going to have hockey in a school
We
building.
already approved this. I don't want to be, I mean, maybe
We
because
have.
I'm
I don't even know why they're asking us
Okay.
again. They must have done some small tweaks.
maybe I'm getting
Well, they
impatient.
did. In July, they did some small tweaks.
Yeah, so I'm sorry you weren't there, Paul, or everyone there. We approved these already. I'm not sure why we're dissecting this like we are now procedurally.
Yeah.
Rich,
By the
Rich,
way, I agree with
Step in
Paul.
there.
I'm not voting for this. It's unrealistic.
we already
So-
voted
What
for
you're
it.
going to say, you're going to tell the
Rich, we
town
need your help
planner
here,
that
Rich.
all
You
of
gotta
their
step in
work.
here.
Okay, I
We
didn't
voted
vote
for
for
this.
before either.
It was already
Well, we
voted
have
by
the meeting.
unanimously
I'm
by
only one
whoever was
person.
here.
Who
It
cares?
was voted by this board, by this commission.
And what, Mitch, and what you're saying, it is only exploration. There is no assertion,
Commitment.
putting our name on this document.
We're not saying we're doing these
That
things.
we
Correct.
support,
Yeah.
that we support doing it. We're only saying you should explore it.
Mhm.
Exactly. We're not
Based on what we
endorsing.
heard from the community, this is what we should be exploring.
Right, and this isn't something we came up with. The community came up with it, and we're, as a commission, supporting the community
Yeah.
by saying, yes, okay, we can explore it, but we're not saying we endorse it.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I have a
We're
problem
not
with
saying
that.
we
I have a
endorse a
problem with that.
hockey rink. We're saying we endorse the exploration of things that the community expressed a desire to
Yes.
have.
Okay, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too. I'm okay with it.
So do
right.
we vote to move forward with those changes? And then we can even, if there's people that vote no, we just tell Abigail that's the,
So I have one last question, because it now it's kind of bothering me because we already voted on this. Did they make changes to the document?
yeah, so there, it looks like, because this one, we met in January, and this one is a July 9th draft.
Did they
So
point out where the changes were made? What changes were made?
I don't know where the changes were made.
That was unfortunate. They should
I
have
mean,
let
I'm
us-
assuming, I'm assuming, because so there was the big committee that was working on it, and then there was a small committee you had to apply to be a member of, and I'm not on that smaller committee, and that must have been the one meeting.
That could change things. If there were changes and we haven't voted on it, technically,
But all of these goals are the same.
It's all up again. You have to vote, you have to approve it again.
Right, so the ask from Abby was just as Ann said at the beginning, that we provide the letter of support, which was part of the package. It was a draft, which she said, that was just a draft. We could change it or whatnot. So, that's what she's looking for, is whether or not the commission will support this document. If that's the ultimate goal for tonight, is decide whether we do or not.
It looks like it, well, so let's take a vote. All in favor of supporting it, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
With the changes we've discussed?
With the changes we've discussed, correct. With the changes that we've discussed, which Rich will circulate. Opposed?
Me,
Bob?
I'm opposing it.
Anybody
Because
else?
as I keep reading this more and more, I just want to explain why.
You don't have to.
We can't.
We're taking a vote. We're taking a
Okay,
vote.
okay, no, I said
Voted
no.
no.
Okay.
And
Paul,
I'm voting no as well. I did, as a matter of fact, Mitch brings up a great point. I do remember this being brought to vote, and Bob and I were the two that disagreed with this as well. So I'm voting no as well.
Okay. All right. So, Rich, if we want to let Abby know,
Yep.
you know, we voted
It passed.
it passed, but it was not unanimous.
Yep. Okay.
And I think I'd like to tweak this letter a little bit just so that it, you know, references recreation.
Yep. And she made
know-
it very clear that you could tweak that letter as much as you wanted, Ann.
Okay. So
Okay.
I'll get you some tweaks back.
Okay. And in the meantime, I'll just talk to her about those 2 changes and I'll let you know if there's any problem with that. I'm sure there won't be, but
Okay.
okay.
I'm assuming there's no other commission member monthly report. I mean, commission member reports. Are there any others? Okay, let's move on to the director report.
Okay, I've got quite a few updates and I can go through these relatively quickly, but feel free to ask any questions or make any comments as you see fit. The first one, there's a few staffing updates. The first one you may or may not have seen that the director position was posted. And so they'll be going through a selection process to name a permanent director. Okay, so that is out there and pending.
Is there a timeline on that, Rich? Like
I do
when
not
they?
have one.
Okay.
Does anyone want to be involved in interviewing? Joan reached out to me. I asked her a question as to, you know, what times of days was she talking about? Because, you know, work full time. Is there anyone else who would want to be involved in interviewing? Mitch?
I think you'll be fine representing us, but if you want someone else, I'll be happy to help.
All right, thank you. I will let Joan know. I haven't heard back in terms of the timing, but I'll let her know that you're a possibility as well to help with the.
You're the chairperson, so you got it. We trust you. We trust you.
Thank you. So maybe
Okay.
only if I can't make it or something, if she needs somebody else.
All right, the next staffing update is we had a resignation. Our assistant manager in the aquatics has resigned. That would be Sam Packard.
Hmm.
So we're in the process of seeking a replacement for Sam.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, so she's going to remain with us on a part-time basis, but she decided to go back to school full-time and couldn't do both.
Oh, good for her.
I've already talked about the fall programming, so as part of the meeting minute, the monthly update. So unless there's any additional comment on that, I'm just going to skip B.
Mhm.
BB, the first B or the second B?
That would be the first B.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
So the winter programming, again, we talked a little bit about what we're doing. The one thing that I would like to talk a little bit more about is one of the things we're thinking about doing is like a seasonal skating rink. It's not going to be chilled or anything like that. It's going to be weather dependent. But we feel like that will be a lot of fun if we can get that up and going. And we just have to work out some logistics of how we're going to manage it. And I mean, God, the thing comes in a box the size of a car and it weighs 1,000 pounds. We're just going to have to figure out how we're going to move it all around and set it up and all of that. So
Do you have any locations you thought about, Rich?
yeah, so we're talking about putting it on the tennis court so we can do it under the lights.
And
Will there be any damage?
Yeah,
what about the damage to the courts?
No, so we're being told by multiple different people that won't be. So that was the first question I asked. And
So what kind of guarantee if
there is no guarantee, Elizabeth, there is none.
That's a shame because those courts are really cracked right now, and
Yeah.
they're just gonna, so, I mean, they're gonna need to be resurfaced if there's more damage to them. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Actually, Elizabeth, it might actually be good insulation to the courts. They won't crack anymore if there's cover to it.
One would hope that that would be the
Yeah.
outcome. And they are super cracked. I know I had sent some information about putting signage up. You know, I mean, there was 2 times when we played at night where kids were coming up on, with their inline skates and their, wanted to play street hockey on the courts. And, I mean, we don't want to be jerks to the kids. We just don't, but they can't play on the courts.
Right. So I'm gonna talk about the tennis court specifically at the end. So if we
could, I'll hold off.
Yep. So the next item is the pumpkin carving event that we're going to do on Halloween. So I don't know if you've seen any of the flyers or anything like that, but this is new. We've never done this before. We're going to have 3 one-hour sessions on Saturday, the Halloween. We've already, the registrations we're completely sold out at this point. So we've got 240 people registered. So we're hoping that that'll be a lot of fun for the community. And we've also started planning for the fireworks.
That's a great number, 240. Congratulations.
Yeah, we got it. I mean, it's sold out late. We started registrations on Friday at 9, and when we left by the end of the day, there were only about 75 spots left, and they filled up over the weekend. So it pretty much sold out in 24 hours, pretty much.
So you had a great idea there.
Yeah, and we're actually, I don't know if we're going to be able to add a 4th session or not, and we'll try to gauge if there's I don't want to open it up and have only 10 or 20 more people come, but if we could get another 80, we
what are you charging for that, Rich?
It's free.
Oh, Jesus.
There you go. Yeah.
No, we're using some of the budget that we had for Westwood Day to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it is nice to throw a free event for a community that hasn't had much to do.
I mean, of all years with COVID and everything like that, we just thought would be a good thing.
Good PR too for the rec department.
Yep. So
we're gonna need it. Only kidding.
Come on.
All right. So I was just starting to say, so the planning for the New Year's Eve fireworks has started. So we've got Roach Brothers, who's agreed to sponsor us again this year, which is nice. That'll defray the bulk of the cost. So more to come on that. I'll have more for you next meeting, but as of right now, all systems go on that. Okay, so some updates on the facilities. I already talked to you about the lights, the pool HVAC. So we had some issues when on the 26th of September, the old unit came off the roof. The next day, on Sunday, the 27th, they tried to put the new unit on, and there's a thing, and this is getting very technical, but there's a piece called a curb that connects the unit to the roof, and it's structural, and it also provides some connections for the intake and outflow venting, and it was manufactured incorrectly, and the vents didn't line up. So they had to repair that, which was done a week and a half ago, and the new unit was finally put on the roof just yesterday. So it's going to be hooked up this week, and it's probably going to be a 2-week process to get the thing fully up and running and dialed in. So hopefully, what's today, the 19th? So hopefully, by the end of this month, it'll be fully operational.
So does that mean the pool has not been running?
Well, no, the pool has been running. We've been operating, but the air circulation has not been occurring because the unit was not operating for that amount of time. So we've experienced a lot of condensation in the area.
Okay.
But we have been able to operate the pool. It doesn't affect the heat of the pool. It affects the heat, the air, like the air temperature and whatnot. But the pool is kept at like 83 degrees.
Okay.
You have to
And
say
that's
that,
unaffected. There's a boiler that we have that heats the pool. It's
And are we
separate from the
concerned
HVAC
about
unit.
COVID and inside when people are out of the pool, or is it just they come out of the pool and they leave, so there's no?
Well, yeah, exactly. And we have very few people. There's 6 people that are each one for each lane, or if you have a family, you could do 2 in a lane, but it's pretty much 6 people swimming at any one given time.
Did I interrupt you, Mitch? Were you saying something?
no, Rich, kudos. I've heard good things, people who are doing the swimming and they feel very safe. So. I
Oh,
think it's-
good. Thank you, Mitch. That's good to hear. We've
hear.
received a lot of emails about that, indicating that as well. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So real quick, also, we had a few pieces of the school street playground break, and we ordered new parts, and those were actually installed today. They came and installed them today, so that should be back up to snuff. And lastly, the tennis courts. So Elizabeth, we had talked about the tennis nets, and there's a couple of them in particular that are in pretty bad shape. So those are going to be replaced in the spring. We're actually going to leave those 2 nets up for the whole winter if people want to play. But the other 4 nets are going to be taken down and stored on December 1st. So if there is warm weather, we still will be able to use the courts throughout the winter. But we didn't want to leave the good nets because a couple of them were brand new. They were put up this past spring. And I was talking to Matt Gillis, and that's the plan for the tennis courts this winter. I know they stayed up all last winter, but we're only going to leave the 2 nets that are basically end of life. And, they can be exposed to the weather this winter, but we're going to take down the others so that they can stay in better shape.
Right,
And
because you have planned to use the courts
Right,
as a
right.
hockey
And right. And come the spring, those two bad ones will be taken down and new ones will be installed.
So who's proposing the hockey rink on the courts? I'm sorry.
We are.
You are. So
Yes.
have you investigated? Like I just sent you and Ann some information about, making a hardcore tennis court into an ice rink, and it's really not recommended.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to. We talked to DPW about it.
Yeah. I'd like to
and-
be part of those
and-
conversations, and I really think I'd like to have the high school tennis, anybody who plays tennis on a regular basis. I mean, the
Yeah,
courts.
we've talked to the high school, Elizabeth. We talked to Matt Gillis, and we have their approval to do it.
Okay.
But if you have a concern, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah,
We'd
and
love
I'd like to have a vote. I really would like to have some
Yeah.
more information about
Yeah.
court maintenance in general. I'm sorry. I mean, we all have our personal pieces, and
Yep.
I use those courts every day as well as many other people. And during COVID, it was the #1 sport for Westwood. I know you get a lot of calls for pickleball on the courts and to
Yep.
keep the lights on and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So to sort of damage them. And I just really want some information about like
Yep.
the maintenance when you put a hockey rink on top of it.
Yep. No, love to hear it. If you have some information
No,
on that,
I'd
we'd
like to
love
hear
to
it
have
from
it.
you, actually. I'd like to hear it from you. I'd like to see the research that you've done
Yeah.
on the maintenance of the courts and putting a hockey rink on it
Sure
without
thing.
just arbitrary
Is
decisions.
it a hockey rink or just an ice skating rink?
No, it's an ice skating rink.
An ice rink, so it may not be hockey.
It's
Yeah,
recreational, right?
it wouldn't be hockey. It would be.
I
it would
just,
be-
can you please
Yeah.
send us the information about what
Yeah.
you're planning to order? I
Yeah.
really think it's important that you do that before you make that decision.
Yeah.
I think it would need to be voted on, actually.
Sure.
So I just have a comment on that also as well. How big is this rink going to be? Do we know?
Roughly 40 by 70.
And so are you going to take the poles, the nets
No.
posts out?
No. It will fit in between where the nets are and the.
Here's
Would
a
there
crazy.
be a surface put down so people are walking, they're
Yeah.
not walking with their blades on the?
Yep, absolutely.
So can you send the information that you've ordered that weighs like a ton, like it weighs the?
Yeah, we haven't ordered anything. It's all still
Uh-huh.
conceptual.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all still conceptual. Nothing is definitive yet.
So
So
based,
maybe is
hold
the
on.
next meeting too late to?
No.
so I
No.
just have a quick question. And just to think about this, is Sheehan an option? The
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yep.
tennis court there?
Oh,
Yep.
What about the Downey? Because those courts, are those courts being used? Oh, but you want the lights? And so
Well,
again, it's like
the
a-
original idea was to put it at Sheehan where the old tennis courts were, and then we said, well, what if we put it where, you know, where the tennis courts at the high school are, because we have the lights and we could use those.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the second thought, and the
That would
idea
be
of being
nice.
able to use it during the evening would be nice, and that sort of took preference because of the lights, and only because of the lights.
Okay, so there are definitely temporary lights that you can rent,
Exactly.
you know, and
Mhm.
put it on courts that are not being used by the public in such a way. Because I've been over to Downey on a number of occasions, and those courts are absolutely not being used. I go over once a week, just random times, and there's nobody on those courts.
Well, we
And
could do
so,
it there
you know,
too. So,
renting, you know, using space efficiently, I think is important. I mean, those are the nicest courts that we've had and that we have in town.
yep.
It would
Liz,
really be
so-
a shame that they got
That's some good idea.
So Liz, if the only thing that I would say is if we're worried about damage to the courts at the high school, we should be worried about the damage to the courts at the
Exactly.
Downey as well. So it's either we're doing it on the tennis courts or not. That's the question.
That's right. That's
Yep.
the
So-
first question. If they're going to damage it, then, you know, I
Then-
just think
Then
that
Sheehan.
Sheehan.
then
yeah.
Sheehan, and you bring in some, you know, temporary lights.
Yeah,
if
that's an
the
option.
goal.
So should we put this on the agenda for next week, next month, to have all
Sure.
of the information put together
Sure.
with a
Yeah.
recommendation? Okay.
Absolutely. Happy to do that.
How would you do temporary lights at the Sheehan? Would you have to did you put generators out there?
I had no idea. We'd have to, we didn't even.
Because I know
consider
we
that,
put
so-
That in football, we put temporary lights out there on the Sheehan.
Yeah, we
field.
use generators.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's
So
changed.
they were, I'm telling you, they were generators. And they're noisy and they require somebody with them all the time.
Yeah, you'd have to look at the technology of lighting outdoor.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you, you just can't throw some lights up there. You have to have, we have used them in the past, you're right. And we rented generators.
Well, and the
Fire
alternative is
department
not to light
has
them and just
issues
have
with
it
those
used during the
generators.
day.
Right.
Or you get full sun, you could be able to put some decent solar lights up around there.
Mm-hmm. And solar, definitely solar power. I don't know. You'd have to look at that. I still think you got to look at whether or not it's, you know, I mean, if it's going to go on a tennis court, and there's no guarantee that the thing's going to be, you know, no damage is going to happen afterwards. I think that's,
Yep.
I think
Well,
that's,
let's let Rich research and get back to us.
Yeah, exactly.
So those were my updates.
So any other items not reasonably anticipated? 48 hours in advance? No? Okay. So
I have a question.
Sure.
So you know how there's a park next to my house up on Highview?
Yeah, the
it's
playground?
not
up there?
June
Yeah, the
Street?
playground. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, yep.
So on Saturdays, there is a group of people, I think it's 3 guys and maybe 15 baseball kids, ranging up to maybe the age of 10 to 12. And they're there every Saturday from 11 until 1. Can they just use that, or do they have to get a permit to do that?
They have to get a permit if it's a.
Organized
small
group
park.
is not, yeah, it's
If
not
it's a
like a
small
neighborhood.
park,
It's
If
not
it's an
definitely, it's not a
AAU
neighborhood. It's definitely not a neighborhood, because I asked them, I said, do you guys live around here? And they're like, no. We were told there's a field up here we can use for Little League.
Were the guys you're talking about, were they, a couple of them diminutive, just kind of small guys?
No. They were driving Lexuses, and they were parking both sides of the street, and it was a free
In
fall.
your driveway?
Well, I put cones up and they moved one of them.
So an organized
what do you
group
do-
should be permitting the fields, right?
Right.
June
So what
Street?
if they're not an entity though, like a legal entity? What if they're just a group of people? Because part of the requirement for a permit is to have insurance, right?
Correct.
So and typically the groups that have insurance are organized groups like youth soccer or whatever as an example, right? If this is
Yeah.
just a group of people, even though they're organized in the fact that they come every week, but they're not a legal entity, they're not a not-for-profit, they don't have insurance. What do you do in that case?
Are they playing under Little League, Westwood Little League? Or are they doing this on their own, putting together 15 kids to come up and play in the field? I'm not sure.
It sounds like it's an organized pickup game.
Well,
It's
we don't know
every
what it is.
Saturday.
I
It's
doubt
every
it's an
Saturday.
organized pickup game because if it was an organized pickup game, the baseball fields are all available now. Nobody's using them. Why are they going up there to hide? You know, that's Sheila's hiding spot.
Yeah.
And what about, you know, the community that might want to use that field to,
Right.
you know, families and how would that be different than the soccer, you know, coaches that were bringing their adult friends to play soccer that we told them they needed to have a permit? Why would this group be different?
Yeah, I agree.
We have lots of groups like this around Westwood.
So I'm just trying to figure out, like, what is
In the
policy?
we have a lot of shadow groups. We have adult shadow groups. We have youth shadow groups. I mean,
So what is
Olympic-
policy in the past? Like, what
Well, they have to
has-
get a permit if they're an organized sport and they're a team. If it's a pickup game, they're okay. But if they're an organized sport and they're a team, they need a permit.
And it's, my guess is that group, and again, we'd have to find out, you'd have to ask, but Bob, if they're not an entity that has insurance, they won't be able to get a permit, right? So they won't be able to use the
Yeah,
field.
but I don't know who they are.
But they could permit it as individuals, couldn't they?
like a birthday
say-
party permit kind of thing?
Yeah, say they're from another town, which they may be. We were told there was a field up here, you know, they probably heard, they're probably from another town. They're doing, you know, they're the dads who are coaching their kids, you know, youth soccer or whatever. Couldn't they permit the field as individuals or no?
Yeah, I got to look at the actual policy. I don't have it in front of me.
And we do
All right.
have
Yeah,
requirements
we
like
spent a lot of time
that.
talking about this. This is in Paul. We put together a policy on the field.
Did, the field
So
policy.
so if somebody has a team where people are paying a fee, not a non-Westwood youth team, which we identify, then they have to get a permit and they have to pay for the field.
Yeah, I'm gonna
We
see.
do have people renting the softball field right now, or at least I hope they are, because they were there last, I'll get the night. I hear about these things all the time. And so I didn't see it myself, but someone told me they were on that. But I would have to ask Kelly if they pay.
Is there a calendar that shows if the field's in use?
Yeah, there is,
Yeah,
there is a
online?
calendar.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
online.
okay.
But if you recall, we had a group that tried to start up their own flag football league on our fields a couple of 3 years ago. I still have the documentation on that. And somebody from the town who works for the town in more than one capacity, you know, lied to us about what it was.
So what we do have is we do have a document that says, and it's the field use document, tells
Right.
you what is needed, what's required. What we do not have, and has been a bone of contention, is how this gets policed, how it gets monitored. Now, there's a lot of opinions going around about what you know, what we can do and what we can't do. So until that gets firmed up and we as a board decide what we can and can't do, there's nothing we can do.
I know, it's very difficult.
Yeah,
Very difficult to say something and it's right in front of you.
if we know who it is, if there's any signage, we could contact them or Rich could contact them.
But we're not gonna spell that until 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And Rich knows this is a big bone of contention. It's a big-
How about adding that to the agenda for the next meeting?
Well, so what's the agenda? What am I adding to the agenda?
Field
Unauthorized use of fields by,
Someone has more than one mic on.
field use policing.
Okay.
Oh, monitoring's a nicer word.
the good thing about it is once you do it for a week, the problem goes away. I recently had a
I mean,
Yeah, but we're
someone,
told not to approach them. I mean, that's
No,
what we
no,
all.
no. We used to do it, okay? I had a recent, we had a recent discussion. He's coaching a team in Dedham with Mike Griffin. He says, how's it going? I said, everything's going great. I miss you for one item, and that is kicking the freeloaders off the fields. He chuckled. He kind of enjoyed that.
only one thing? You said you miss them just for one
Yeah,
thing?
that's what I said to him. Well, you know Mike. Do you know, does everybody know Mike?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of a big guy. He doesn't mess around. I mean, Rich will tell you that on one day I got 2 complaints. I'm running a rec program at the multi-purpose field, and I got an unauthorized basketball clinic going on when basketball was outlawed. And then I got somebody that walks into my group with a group of kids without masks on. And I'm like the COVID police. I don't mess around. And so I told them both groups, I said, what's going on here? And they both complained about me. I mean, you saw yourself, Elizabeth, on a Saturday, we had no less than 70 or 80 people show up, players and spectators, and took over our high school field.
That one day.
That one day. But if we didn't do anything about it, I had to call the permit holder. He called the police, and we got rid of him, but it took an hour. But if we didn't do anything about it, they'd be there every Saturday.
Yeah.
No, it's an issue. Enforcement's an
There's
issue.
an AAU, the big AAU program down there in Franklin.
Okay.
You know, they just moved right in. I mean, it was unbelievable. We went to do a few kids. We went down there to do a workout, and they told us to take a hike. They had the field.
So is there signage on that?
There's no signage on any fields
Yeah,
above.
I really strongly suggest we need to do some signage. I mean, the signage, you know, I'm just going to speak for the courts because that's where I hang out, and there's no signage on the Downey courts whatsoever. The Westwood court signage needs to be redone, and you know, again, so I don't know. I know we've got it on the high school fields, but I don't know where else. I think it sounds like the baseball field needs some signage too, as just a point of reference.
Well, we police it. Gary Cappuccino and I police it.
I know, but still, it's just a point of reference. Even when you're policing it, you can point to the sign and say, hey, you know.
Yeah, Medfield has some signs on their fields, and this is what they said. They say this is a game. What do they say? I mean, I'm not going to say it exactly, but they say this field is for game use only.
Right.
By appointment. But you can't do that because, you know, ordinary taxpayers will want to use the field.
Right.
It's a very difficult situation. It's
I mean,
hard.
I mean, but that's what you just have to write. I mean, you know, an informal, so it's kind of saying informal pickup game that happens, you know, a bunch of people from town, the kids, high school kids want
They can use anytime they want.
That's right. The high school kids want an alumni game. I'm just gonna use that as the
from
example.
town.
You know, the alumni game. Kids come home from college, they want to get together, play on the field.
Can they do?
Can they do it?
And they do it. There's no problem. We're talking about organized groups coming in there, making money on a town asset.
Right.
Okay? They're using a town asset to make money.
So folks, this is something that it's 9 o'clock, and I think it's something we should consider adding to the next agenda. There's a lot, people have a lot of thoughts and opinions on it. So
in the meantime, I was just wondering if someone from the rec department could go down there on the next Saturday and see if they're there and ask them
I'll see who's on, and we'll figure it out.
who they are.
You mean the baseball field you're talking about?
I'm talking about Sheila's neighborhood, the June Street Playground. If they're we know
Well,
they're
that's
there.
like Sheila's private club there.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah.
But if they're using the field every Saturday, we can someone could check.
I think I know who it is.
So we'll put it on the agenda for next time. If there is someone available from the recreation department that can go and ask the question next Saturday, we'll do that. If there's not, you know, one more Saturday, you know, some Saturday coming up.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So when is the next meeting, Ann?
So it looks like November 16th. I'm trying to go back to, I was looking at the field policy. I'm trying to go back to the page I was on. What the heck is it now?
Bob, you, me, and Paul will be there Saturday morning with our rec
It's-
department shirts on.
Right there. Well,
November
that's
16th.
Mitch, bring your name tag too. You got your name tag?
Yeah, we'll do it. That'll be official.
No, we can't go there. You can't
Trump
go
hat,
there.
don't forget your Trump hat.
No.
Oh, my God.
Okay, this meeting is falling apart. November 16th. Does that work for the next meeting?
Good, good.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn, someone.
yep. Can I make a motion? I'll make it. I move motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
night.
Aye.
Aye.
Favor, everybody. All
All
right.
right, have a
All
good night. See you all.
Thank
next
you.
week.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.